You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today's show was inspired by a client's question. It was a good question and illustrates how deep and entrenched our beliefs are that we learned in childhood. Are you ready to overcome the biggest myth of your life? Stay tuned. We're married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, you're saying that all of us are living the definition of insanity. What? Doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Okay, what do you mean?
This is really kind of revolutionary, and I've never heard this before anyplace else.
Okay.
So, and it's based on our 20 years of work as intuitives.
Okay.
We see that everybody else looks at human behavior as if we were machines or robots that need to be programmed.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. It is truly insane. And the reason we know it's insane as intuitives is because as intuitives, we have access to this part that everyone out there that's listening right now has access to, that gives you some basics about how humans are designed and how they're supposed to work and all those things. Okay. But we've overridden that and instead say, okay, this expert says, you go all the way back to Dr. Spock. He tells us how to raise our kids.
Right.
You have a problem with your marriage. Oh, here's 3 simple ways to improve your marriage. You have problems with your health. Here's 3 things you can do to improve your health right now.
Right.
Those are all programs. And because it's the frame that we see it with, it becomes invisible.
Well, we don't question it.
We don't question it. It's sort of obvious.
Yes.
And it truly is insane. I love that saying it was Albert Einstein. I don't know if he was the original or not, but doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. We keep trying to solve our problems
by doing exactly that,
going outside of ourselves, programming ourselves. Right. And if the program doesn't work, we just program ourselves some more.
Yeah. I agree.
And here's what we see.
Okay.
If you aren't able to be programmed, think of little Johnny in school, little Jason in school, and you have to do this, and this, and then you'll get an A. And
correct.
You say, I don't want to do this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're bad Patricia, bad Patty in this case, or bad Jason in this case.
Okay.
If you don't meet the standard, you get shamed and rejected.
Correct.
If we could recover all the human capability that has been lost, it would be nuclear with regard to human potential. And if you don't program well, you should see it as a badge of honor. Your humanity is at least partially preserved.
Okay.
So Elon Musk, who loves to make these provocative statements, I'm not a big fan, but I think this is worthwhile. And he said it to get a reaction, but he said he doesn't want people to live forever because it's only when people die that it allows for new ideas to come forward, because old people don't change. People have these ideas in their head and they're fixed. And it was a half-truth.
Yes.
The half-truth is programmed people don't change.
No.
They don't see a better idea. they say, this is the way I've been taught all my life.
And and this is the way it
and
is.
this is where I'm going to do it.
Yep.
You can apply that to racial prejudice,
Mm.
gender prejudice, all the problems that we have in the world today, even acknowledging the fact that we have climate change.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that way before. You know, what's the big deal? You know, having your car run, or having your small
True.
engine, whatever. So let me get to the client question.
Okay.
It was a process question, and that's the frame. It was a how-to question.
Okay.
So whenever someone asks me, how do I behave in a certain way, or
how should I behave?
Yeah. So how do I change
Okay.
behavior? How should I do something? How should I do something better? Those are all process questions, and they're begging for a programmed answer.
That's right.
And the problem is, and the answer will be something like, well, do this, think this, act this way, feel this way,
and you'll get this result.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those are all programming, positive, and programming, with the frame, with the question, programming question, and a programming result.
Okay.
So, and those solutions are never about you uniquely. And what we do is we shop different programs. Well, that program didn't work for me, so I'm gonna try this program, and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
And by the way, people have spent thousands and maybe even more dollars.
Millions,
Well, I was thinking of
billions.
just one person.
I mean,
but
just
yes.
think of all the how big the weight loss industry is.
Oh,
The weight loss is,
yes.
People want to program themselves, and the reason is, and the problem that the yo-yo diets, people, you can lose weight, no problem.
Yeah.
But then it comes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that? It's because your body is saying, hey, there's a reason that I need this. There's a reason that this weight is on me. And you're not addressing that specifically.
Correct.
And we've talked about that in other shows, but I'm not going to talk about that here.
Okay.
Here's how we do it differently. And this is groundbreaking, I think.
I do too.
Instead of saying, okay, in this case, the client question was about professional competition and jealousy.
Okay.
He was in a very professional arena, and he was struggling with how to be in an arena where you might collaborate with someone one day and then compete with them the next.
Okay.
And by definition, everything that all of his peers were competitors also.
Okay.
He was asking me a how question. Well, it's not about how. This is how we approach it, the ecosystem approach. Instead of programming you, we help you uncover who you are uniquely.
Okay.
And maximize those talents and abilities.
That's right.
Maximize them so that you have the confidence in them, that you can use them,
and the clarity about how to use them that comes from within.
Right.
Go ahead.
So for professional jealousy for you is going to be different than professional jealousy for me and for this client, because we're different.
Right.
So I talked to him about his astrology type, and he has a lot of fire in his natal chart.
Okay.
And fire, you know this because I have a lot of fire in my chart. Okay.
True.
Fire is not really what I would call what's the opposite of boastful?
Quiet.
Not quiet. Not modest.
Oh, I see.
Modest.
I see.
Modesty does not describe fire at all.
No.
And a fire sign would, someone with a lot of fire would not be modest.
That's correct.
So,
well, innately they wouldn't be.
Yes.
But if they're trained to be,
yes,
to squelch that fire and act a certain way, then they're not authentically getting what they need.
And the way we would approach that is to clear that training.
Yes,
is
absolutely.
To clear that training so that the authentic part of the person can come out.
Yes.
I think someone who's got a lot of fire would probably go out there and be boastful, be aggressive, hey, look at me. He might step on a few toes, but
go, oh well.
And
exactly.
And that's the way it is. And frankly, people would acknowledge the fact that this guy is that way, and they'd be okay with it because fire signs are really likable too, So
Right. Okay.
she's rolling her eyes. I can see she's not even there. I can see her rolling her eyes. But okay, but this is a big deal. Instead of asking programming questions, say, who am I authentically? And I'm going to put who I am authentically out in the world. And so every problem is about who I am, what my strengths and weaknesses are, and what's in my way that keeps me from doing those strengths and weaknesses.
Well, and I want to say right here, one of the things that the ecosystem approach does is it doesn't program you to go out there and put that fire out into the world,
be a certain way.
To be a certain way. What it does, when you uncover your story, you clear the negative energies away so you personally can see who you are, and then you can figure out what you want, and also how to get up and go get what you want and how to do that. But not because someone told you how to do it, because you know it innately.
Someone with a different astrology, for example.
Absolutely.
And we use astrology because it gives us a language
Right.
to discuss these energies.
Right.
And we know someone who's has a lot of earth. Well, someone with a lot of earth would not be boastful.
Nope, not at all.
They would be steady. They
Steadfast.
would always be there, and they'd
Mhm.
always have a certain type, and it would work. It would work for them.
Exactly. So, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Humanity is collectively doing programming over and over again and expecting different results.
Mhm.
That's insane. Programmed people are constantly looking for techniques or programs when they need to remove the negative energy. It's
Correct.
an energy process. The ecosystem approach shows you how to restore your infinite human potential by using your essence to have infinite capacity. That's who you have to act from.
Yes.
That's who solves your problems.
Correct.
And the ecosystem approach shows you how to understand, how to uncover how you uniquely work instead of programming.
Love it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how you should function as a human being in a way we never have before. This is going to be interesting. Jason came up with a new metaphor that you'll find interesting, and we'll describe how you can truly live without strings or programming. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how you should function as a human being in a way we never have before. This is a new metaphor that you'll find interesting, and we'll describe how you can truly live without strings. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, explain this new metaphor about how people work. By the way, everyone, I think this is one of the best descriptions that I have ever heard Jason come up with, because it doesn't take a rocket science to put all the pieces together.
Well, and it's so we talk about essence all the time, your soul, your essence.
Mm-hmm.
And people think of essence like, oh, my soulmate or
Right.
my soul purpose,
Mhm.
and that's pretty one-dimensional. And so how do you use that? So what?
What do I do
It's
with all
more of
that?
a poetic idea, philosophy than
And
it
there's
is.
nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
but yes.
And
yes.
so the truth is that your essence is a huge part of it should be a huge part of your life. But what I see, and again, this is what we see as intuitives, is we program ourselves because we've lost that connection to our essence.
Yes.
There's been a buildup of negative energy.
And something I want to say, we started to be programmed thousands of years ago.
Yes.
It didn't start yesterday.
Yes, it wasn't 100 years ago.
It wasn't even 100 years ago. It's a long time ago.
And so what's happened is that we've lost touch with our essence,
Mm-hmm.
which is what was in. It was designed for us to be guided by our essence.
We were absolutely.
And you see that with animals. We see it with our dogs all the time. It's like they're intuitive, and they stand at the door and they stare at it. They know it's going to open at some point, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, one of them thinks that if he stares long enough, it will open. But that's a whole nother show in itself. Anyway, go ahead.
This is the best way that I found to describe how your essence works right now.
Okay.
And how it could work.
Okay.
So think of your essence as your company headquarters.
Okay.
And think of it as having 10 floors, and there's 10 employees on each of those 10 floors. So there's 100 employees in total.
Okay.
We used to refer those as bits of life force. You can extend this metaphor. So you could have instead of 10 floors, you could have 100 floors,
right?
1,000 employees.
Let's make it simple for now.
So I made it simple. So 10 floors, 10 employees per floor.
Okay.
20 of those employees are working in your best interest. 80 of those employees are not. Now, we discovered this. If you want to learn more about our discovery about this negative energy attached to your essence, which is a huge deal.
Right.
It affects everything. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. There's a 2-part article about the discovery, and this is about that 80% in your essence. But let's talk about that. So you have 10 floors, 10 employees per floor. 20 of those employees,
that total of 100 employees,
20 of those 100 are working in your best interest. 80 of them are not. Now, they're not just goofing off. Like, some of them are goofing off. Some of them are, doing online shopping or playing video games or throwing spitballs at their neighbors, that sort of thing,
okay.
But a lot of them are organizing in a very coherent way to sabotage you.
Well, I was going to say even maniacal.
Yes. And we see that all the time. We just don't know where it comes from.
And we also don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
There's this huge confusion, and then it creates even more, I'm going to say, wasted time and blocks for us to figure out what to do with it.
So here's the other part of this. How those good employees are distributed within the headquarters determines your success or achievement in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're clustered in one place, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 of them are on one floor together.
Okay.
You can have a talent and ability that is really good.
Okay.
And at the same time, have these great deficits as a result, because then these negative employees are just screwing with you.
And they're trying to sabotage.
So Steve Jobs is a good example.
Poor guy.
He was a genius, but he had this cancer that he died way too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you those are the negative employees that were working on that. If you see all the struggles that humans have, money, illness, disease, relationship problems, divorce, accidents, bad luck,
mm-hmm.
deep pain and hurt, abuse, addictions, they all can be traced back to these negative employees, these bad employees.
Okay.
And programming does not remove any of those bad employees.
It moves them around.
It may move them around. You may have some success for a time period, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
And they continue to work to your detriment.
Okay.
A great example, we just heard about this on the news. Kimberly Potter, who shot that black man in Minnesota. She was saying taser, taser, but she pulled out her gun and shot the guy. Instead. She was trying to tase him as opposed to shot him.
Right.
I guarantee you.
Was Dante Wright. Right.
Dante Wright.
Right. Okay.
Her bad employees made her do that. I see that she has real remorse.
True. Yes.
We heard about that one Texas, and there might be some prejudice there too. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother show. That Texas police officer who went to the wrong floor in her apartment building, opened the door and saw a black man and shot him. It was the same. Those are those same bad employees.
Right.
The Kennedys who had that curse. I guarantee you that curse had those bad employees had not only connected with, it not only was with JFK, but in the whole family. They got together and created something really bad.
Correct.
So we're trying to give you these examples because most people don't realize how bad those that 80%, that dark energy attached to your essence.
Because it's negative.
Well, because it's negative, but because we don't even acknowledge essence anymore.
No, we
We
don't.
just go to programming. We say, okay, how should I do this?
Yeah.
We don't go inside and say to your headquarters, okay, headquarters, I need to find the best person to marry, to have how do I do that?
Right.
And if your headquarters was working well and you had a couple good floors of good employees, they would figure it out and give you good information. Say, oh, don't marry that one, marry this one.
Right.
Or choosing a job, choosing an occupation, making choices on the job. All those things come from they should come from your essence, but instead we look outside of ourselves and say, what do the experts say? How should I do that?
Yes.
And it's off. And the reason it's off is that people say, okay, well, I want to trust my essence, but hey, you just told me that 80 of those employees in my essence are working against my best interest.
Right.
I'm sorry to be the messenger. I didn't do it. It wasn't
exactly.
us that did that.
But we did discover it.
We did discover it, and we see that's what the problem is.
Exactly.
The best thing you could do is to restore yourself to your own humanity. We talk about humans being restored.
I like the way you say that.
Restore your humanity, and that's where the real potential is. So as you go into your headquarters and say, okay, I'm gonna fire 5 of the bad employees, and then I'll bring in 3 new people. It'll take a while to reorient.
Yes.
To train them, to make them good employees. But that's why the ecosystem approach takes a little longer than programming.
And it works.
But it's sustainable.
It is.
Not only is it sustainable in this lifetime,
but
it'll in other lifetimes, in the next lifetime for you.
Exactly.
And it has a ripple effect to everybody around you. That's good energy.
It's actually phenomenal the way that it works. And you and I are definitely we're true examples of that. But we have also seen how much that has our changes and our using our own ecosystem has not only helped us, but it's helped our children and our children's children, but it's also helped all of our clients.
Yes.
And it's phenomenal.
The problem in the world today is we don't understand the problem.
Yes. The real problem.
We don't understand the real problem, which is programming.
Yes.
And this 80% is negative energy in our essence, and we have no idea how to get rid of it.
Exactly. But we do. And that it's by using the ecosystem approach.
And we've been doing this for 20 years. We know that it's
right
under the radar. It's not up in lights. It's not something you can point to as a metric.
Right.
Because it's all subtle, it's all internal, it's energetic.
Well, exactly. And, most people say, well, I want to help the world. I want to do something for the world. But when you realize that you have to start with you first, you have to start with you. And that sounds like some people would say, oh, that's so small. That's not going to affect anything. I guarantee you it affects everything.
Well, and science is no help in this case, especially because it's lost, because this deals with the intangibles, these energies,
right. That's
these
true.
Emotions, the things that make the difference between a good employee and a bad employee are intangible. They're energies.
Right.
But that's what we deal with the ecosystem approach.
Well, and the unlimited human potential by using the ecosystem approach is phenomenal, everyone.
If you had, instead of 20 good employees, 30 good employees, and we had a critical mass of people who had 30 good employees as opposed to 20, it would change the world.
Exactly.
Just imagine if we had 50 good employees or more.
Wonderful. So, Jason, because of time, what are the key points here?
Your essence is like a 10-story headquarters with 100 employees, and currently only 20 of them do a good job.
Okay.
Those other 80 employees are working against your best interest and responsible for bad judgments and bad happenings in your life. Go back and think about it. You can think of a lot.
Okay.
Programming never removes those 80 bad employees. It just moves them around to create havoc elsewhere.
Correct.
And the ecosystem approach shows you how to remove the bad employees and replace them to create unlimited potential for you personally.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to implement the ecosystem approach and understand when and how to use programming, without creating problems for yourself. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to implement the ecosystem approach and understand when and how to use programming without creating problems for yourself. By the way, this is very interesting to me anyway. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. By the way, that's exactly what we're talking about today. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery. Okay, this is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, is there a time when to use programming, and how do you know when to use programming and when to not use programming?
Well, okay, you can't just snap. First of all, you can't snap your fingers and go from a programming lifestyle to completely an internal one, using the ecosystem approach.
Exactly.
And one of my clients one time said this to me, and he was right.
Okay.
He said, I'm very black and white when I talk about this on the show, that programming is bad and then the ecosystem approach is good. And I do that for simplicity. I do that. But he's right. It's not just that black and white. And we live in a programmed world. So what do you do when you're in a programmed world? And so to answer you the question about when to use which, the ecosystem approach is an internal process that's gradual, and it's hard to measure and articulate to other people.
Okay.
But it can lead to profound skills and ability, because all of a sudden you're solid on the inside.
Yeah.
Those employees are starting to work.
I love it.
And they say, okay, well, this is what you should be doing, and this is what you should be doing, and knowing and helping you make decisions, all those things.
Correct.
Even in a programmed world. But most of the world teaches us and lives according to a program way, methods, and thinking. Okay,
That's
it's
true.
all around us.
Yes, everywhere.
We can't get around it.
Right.
One of the things we've always said about the ecosystem approach is you don't have to make yourself look like a crazy person to do this. You're not sitting in a lotus position, or you're not.
And
you
that's
don't have
not
to
crazy,
behave.
but you don't have to act strange.
You don't have to act strange. Because it's internal.
Yes.
This is what it's changing from the inside out. So when you live in a programming world, but you on the inside are authentic to yourself, you can make it a really satisfying life. But if you're if you're living in a programming world and you program yourself, it leads to a very unsatisfying life.
Correct.
So let me give you some examples.
Okay.
There are certain things in our culture that require a programmed approach.
Correct.
When you're interviewing for a job, it requires you to understand the programmed expectations of the interviewer. How long have we believed collectively that if you have to look someone in the eye and shake their hand with a firm handshake?
Well, I grew up with that.
You could say, well, I just don't like to squeeze someone's hand. Okay, but that's the programmed expectations.
It is.
So I can see that there are certain expectations about, when you interview for a job, about what you say about what you want in the future, and sort of some canned questions and what the answers should be.
The one I love the most is, where do you expect to be in 5 years?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, it's one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. So you can prepare yourself for those and give programmed answers.
Sure.
As long as you know who you are on the inside, what you want, and then use that to create a positive situation for yourself in the interview.
Okay.
In the Army was so programmed. Oh my gosh.
Sure.
If you and there was a Navy SEAL who just wrote a book about, you start your day off by making your bed. He said, that's how developing good habits. That's all programming. I think he's a good guy. I like him. The Army was very programmed, and if you couldn't get up in the morning and make your bed,
you were out.
I had a friend who was very, very intelligent, very bright.
Okay.
But he was just scattered. He couldn't get his shoes shined and his his Army uniform always looked disheveled. He didn't make it. He actually, he didn't make it in the Army. He left very quickly. I don't know if they got rid of him or he got out of the chapter or whatever, but he didn't get it. But in the Army, here's the opposite of that. If you have a nice uniform, you don't put your hands in your pockets, you don't slouch, you have a clean uniform.
Well, isn't the saying, if you look smart, you are smart?
Exactly.
Okay.
And your military, they call it military bearing. So in other words, you have a demeanor that you have, and that says everything about you. Well, it doesn't. And I saw a lot of people when I was in there that had a great bearing, but they had motives that were not positive, and they weren't good guys.
Okay.
So, but in a programming environment, you can get away with that stuff.
Yes,
use it. Use your intuition, use your ability to see how it really is. And because if you program yourself, it dumbs you down. You can't see these other subtleties, these other things. There are some things that require programming, like getting to work on time.
Sure.
Completing a work assignment, meeting family or professional requirements.
Okay.
Those are expectations. Fitting into social situations with programmed expectations.
Yeah.
There's a way you're supposed to act at a funeral, and there's a way and you can't just be yourself.
Okay.
There's certain things that you have to fit in. But internal development always needs to happen so you don't lose yourself when you function in a program.
Well, and I'm going to jump in and say I have a great example. And it's a personal one. When I started using the ecosystem approach, I didn't like myself very much. I'd had a lot of abuse, so forth. And what I discovered is I started uncovering or started learning about my story, or realizing what my story was, and uncovering it and clearing the negative energy using the ecosystem approach. I don't want to say I've learned to love myself, but I love myself today a lot more. And what I find is when I love myself, I'm not distracted by the angers and the hates and the bitternesses that I've been carrying around all of my life, because those things become distractions and I don't get the job done, whatever it is I'm doing. And it doesn't mean, I could be making a sandwich and I'm doing it better today than I did 10 years ago.
The point is, and this is a good example.
Okay.
You didn't program yourself to love yourself.
Not at all.
You took away the negative energy that was keeping you from loving yourself, and
knowing myself.
The self-love was a natural byproduct of removing that negative energy. And that's the whole difference between programming.
And it was totally unexpected.
Yes.
I did not expect that. And it's awesome. It is awesome. So
when you have this internal evolution,
yes,
no programming outside can affect you, so you can live without strings. And that's the whole point of this show, is that when you allow yourself to be programmed, you're living with a lot of strings. And when you find that, when you start uncovering who you are, and even if you're 60-year-old, 70-year-old, 80-year-old, I don't care. Start now.
Absolutely.
It's never too late.
It is not
you have to have that solid sense inside of you.
And it's the part that's awesome is you actually like yourself. And before using the ecosystem approach, you see you don't like yourself very much. I don't know hardly anyone who actually likes and loves themselves
because of negative programming.
Because of
those bad employees.
That's exactly
bad employees
right.
are talking in your ear, and
yammering in your ear all the time.
You didn't do that very well. So,
okay, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Programming yourself can be useful in many cultural situations where it's expected.
Okay.
Changing from a lifetime of programming is gradual. The ecosystem approach is covert, internal, and private.
Yes, it is.
Evolving on the inside always makes you more successful in a programming environment. You look good.
Yes.
And the ecosystem approach shows you how to have a solid feeling inside and have true growth and evolution with no strings.
I love it. So for those of you who have just joined us, or for the first time, I should say it that way, and even for those who have been with us for a really long time. We're going to tell you how to do the ecosystem approach. It's clearing. And then we're going to activate. I'm going to show you how to activate life force energy, the most powerful energy that anyone has access to. So, Jace.
So it's very simple. You don't have to be in a reverent position. You can sit, stand, lay down, walking. You can be moving. You can be doing two things at once, washing dishes. This works. So when I say and to eliminate, just imagine in your mind's eye those things to eliminate, whether they're emotions, barriers, veils and illusions,
bad feelings.
Just gather those things up, blow them into the processor. Jacob can put up the processor on the screen so you can see it if you're watching on video, and just in your mind's eye, in your imagination, put those negative emotions in the top of that processor. It gets processed, comes out neutral.
And it's really cool. But if you don't have a picture of the processor, use a garbage can. Throw everything in the garbage can. Don't worry, we'll take care of it because we know that it works. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to activate life force energy. Life force energy is the most powerful energy that any of us has access to. And we're going to actually call upon it. We're going to access it. We're going to have it come in through the top of our head, go all the way down our body and our arms and our legs to the tips of our toes. We're going to stop it right there. We're going to ask it to turn around all the negative energies, and we're going to blow those negative energies into the garbage can or the processor. And then we're going to go on to the next, whatever it is we need to take care of. And the bottom line is I know this works. I personally know this works. And I know that anyone who hasn't tried it, I recommend highly that you give it a try. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to do the clearings to help you live without strings in your life, meaning live without programming. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to do some clearings to help you live without strings / programming in your life. Jason, you ready to go?
Yes.
Good.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barrier so I can feel and know that programming rots me on the inside and creates invisible strings in my life. Take a breath.
Well said. You know, I have to say this. I was going to say this earlier. One of the things that I've noticed, and it's just kind of been a personal thing, but those that have been really, really, really programmed, I see that oftentimes those are the people that end up with really toxic diseases and that sort of thing. And they're very unhappy.
Yeah.
So with that said, moving right along.
That's why everybody's searching for happiness, because they've been programmed.
Exactly. So, and to eliminate the barrier so I can see that I figured out how to.
I figured out the how-tos.
There you go. By uncovering who I am and maximizing that. And by the way, it has been just plain fun. Take a breath. Because and to eliminate any blocks that are keeping me right now from saying, well, I can do that too. The truth is, you can do that too by using the ecosystem approach. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and frenzy that I have, because programming is not natural to me. Take a breath. We'll have to start a club.
Yeah.
It's not natural. It's not natural to anyone. Some people do it better than others, but
yes, exactly. And to eliminate any feelings of fear and hurt and shame that I have because of the times I tried to program myself and it didn't work. And by the way, I could see personally, I was reprimanded more often than my other brothers and sisters because I didn't program very well. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can know that my natural talents I uncover are easy for me and don't need motivation.
Nice. Take a breath.
Stuff out there about being motivated. If you're doing if your employees, those 20 employees are working in your favor, you don't need to be motivated. They'll just keep going and going and going in
There
the
you go.
right areas. So,
Exactly. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see, once I have confidence in my natural abilities and how to's, it's easy. Take a breath.
and to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror that I have, that I can't program myself the way I need. You're not supposed to be able to be programmed. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see my headquarters, meaning my essence, has a personnel problem with really bad employees. And by using the ecosystem approach, I can do something about it.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate any intense anger I have that these bad employees are sabotaging me all my life, which they are. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resistance I have to clearing, because evolution and removing bad employees takes a long time. Clear the resistance to letting those bad employees go. You'll find your day will be much better. Take a breath.
It's one of those things, programming, you'll do this for a while and then it doesn't work anymore. And you'll do this for a while, it doesn't work anymore. If you add it all up, you've wasted huge amounts of time
and money.
And if you could compare that to just doing the ecosystem approach, inch by inch, little by little,
it works.
It would be
it's
so
amazing.
much faster
Yes,
with the ecosystem approach.
Exactly.
So,
resistance.
And to eliminate any resistance I have to clearing, because evolution and removing bad employees takes time.
Yes. Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can clear my way to uncover my unique strengths and talents, to use them to solve problems. By the way, that's exactly what Jason and I have done. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that programming never removes bad employees. They have to be cleared.
Yes,
you
there you
can't
go.
just program your way to remove those bad employees. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any numbness or blocks I have to my emotional story so I can understand it and clear specifically. That's what the clearing specifically is all about. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see the possibilities for me fitting into a program culture while evolving on the inside. Ooh, that's just gives me goosebumps. Take a breath.
Actually, it's really fun, in my opinion. So, and to eliminate veils and illusions so I can see evolving helps me fit into a program world and have fun actually doing it. And then also be smarter than everybody else around you. Take a nice breath.
Yeah. And to, shall I start?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And to activate life force so I can have hope to be solid and confident about who I am as I uncover myself and evolve.
So pull that life force right in through the top of your head. Let it go all the way down your body to the tips of your toes. Right now, ask it to turn around any negative energies left over and throw them into that processor and or garbage can. And activate life force so I can trust and understand that my essence is far better than any formula or programming about my life. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can decide to clear my essence and remove bad employees and retain new ones, even if it takes a while. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and have fun and laugh and learn to love myself and love others and love my life, but also know that I can be the best that I can be by using the ecosystem approach and activating life force daily, starting right now in this moment. Take a breath. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
We're going to talk about meditation and some of the meditation misconceptions. And so we've been busting misconceptions today all over the place.
We have.
And I've hope you can see that when you start evolving on the inside, getting rid of those bad employees, it opens up a whole world to you. And we've been doing meditation for a long time. I started when I was in college, which was a long time ago. And it was really clear to me that I would feel so much better, relaxed, and then I'd come out of it, and there'd be a crisis, and I was back into that anxiety that I was just before.
Exactly.
We've learned how, using the ecosystem approach,
exactly,
how to do meditations that are so much better and so much more productive than you can. And we don't have a lot of the rules that you think that they should be. We'll talk about, like, for example, your posture. We'll talk about some of the things that we've done. Like, we like to do meditations with happy music.
Yes, we do. And one of the other things I was just thinking about is I learned that meditations, you're supposed to not think of anything at all. Well, that's a rule.
Yeah, it's a programming.
It's a really programmed rule.
Empty your mind.
Empty your mind. Well, I mean, really? I don't know anybody who can empty your mind.
Have you seen your mind?
And the only reason I'm laughing is he's right.
So we take it becomes a rule and a programmed way of doing it. And this is how you do it. And this, and most of when I Googled it, I got all these medical places, which is part of one of my pet peeves, which we'll talk about next in the next show.
Okay.
But that'll be an audio show. So you'll be able to listen to it as opposed to see it.
And the other thing is that as you're traveling to doing your Christmas, visiting and maybe the last minute shoppings and so forth, you can actually use the meditations as you're going down the road. Well, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you probably should keep your eyes closed, but
also, and if you're going down the road, keep your eyes open. Yeah. It's the same thing, but you can at least listen and get an idea of what's going on. So, Jason, why should I start, or why should anyone out there start using the ecosystem approach?
If something today just got you, if you feel something on the inside and say, "Oh my gosh, this is why." I've always thought, because I haven't been able to be programmed, there was something wrong with me, but it's not true. It's not you, it's the method.
It is.
And it should, for all the people that haven't been programmed well, or in a certain way, or they can't do this well, or they can't do that well, and I think, there's something wrong with me because I don't get programmed. It's not you. And it's those people. If you're one of those, it's time to start the ecosystem approach right now. Don't wait. Go right now to our website, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. It's really, really important. You'll get our weekly newsletter, and every week you'll have clearings. Listen to our show every week, and we get you started.
Okay. What about Facebook?
You can go to our Facebook page. We usually have a video there. We do this Facebook Live, and it's theecosystemapproach.org. Like us while you're there. Really appreciate that like.
Okay. We'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.